Yo, people. Sunday morning stream. Spurs back to reality. What's that song? Back to life. back to reality. Yeah, we spoke about the Sheffield United game last week about how we shouldn't get too carried away with beating literally the worst side in the league and a championship side. Let's be real.
Yeah,
they're a championship side. But yeah, Spurs, we do the damn thing as per. And yeah, we lose.
Bro, it was expected. Yeah, no, it's expected, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I think we enjoyed the Sheffield United result while we could, because let's be honest, we all know. I think you actually said on that stream as well when we were looking at the next 3-4 fixtures, and you mentioned Leeds, and you went, yeah, I think we're going to lose that one, and sort of brushed over it. And I thought exactly the same. I thought if we come up against a side where, you know, they're decent on the ball themselves, can actually retain possession, can actually cause problems going the other way, then we won't be able to cope defensively, and also we won't have the confidence in the side and the quality in the side to actually dominate the ball and match them for intensity for the 90 minutes, which is what we saw. I think we can go over individual things, but it's the same stuff we've been seeing all season. Do you know what I mean? Same players doing the same things, same players making the same mistakes, same issues presenting themselves over and over again, which I think, you know, we've said all along, Jose was a problem. There's problems all over this club, but ultimately the players, the squad, it's just not good enough. I mean, I don't know. I know you didn't catch all of it, so, but I mean,
I watched the highlights. Yeah,
some of the performances, man. Like people that we talk about week in, week out, and again, I'll bring him up, and I'm sure we'll get to it in a bit more detail. But Giovanni Lo Celso, how is this man starting? And I don't know if you've seen the clip on Twitter of him just running off the pitch.
Yeah, I did. Jordan, how long have we been saying for like? It's got to be since the Aston Villa game.
Yeah,
because I think that was the first game he started. Because we played Aston Villa after we lost to Arsenal. Since the Villa game where he first started, we've been saying, how is this guy getting game time? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he started every single match since that Villa game.
He started 6 in the last 7 now. Yeah,
He started against Villa, Newcastle, Man United, Man City in the League Cup, Southampton at home, Sheffield United away, and Leeds. I swear, like that's like 7 straight starts, and the performances keep getting worse and worse and worse
every week, mate. Honestly, that's what I'm saying. Out of every game, there's not one performance where I go, I can see why he's in there, or he had a decent 45. I see someone else say it on Twitter as well yesterday, I think, but I've been saying it for weeks. Like, genuinely, I'd rather Harry Winks in there at the minute. Like, if you're not going to play on Dembele, I'd rather you played Harry Winks over Lo Celso, because I just don't see what he does. And I was saying it was a confidence thing, lack of game time, but like you just said there, he started 7 games in a row. So for me, there's no excuse for that now. There should be a level of intensity to his game, rhythm. He should be able to come into the side, and if he's a decent footballer, be actually like control the ball, not run off the pitch for literally with no one else around him. It was like one of them FIFA ones, you know, when you get the analog stick slightly wrong and you end up just pelting it off the pitch. I didn't get it. But it was all over the pitch, mate. It was all over the pitch. Like, I mean, I don't think I could pick anyone out of that 11 yesterday which had a decent performance. I think maybe for 20 minutes, Dele looked all right in the first half. Kane looked completely disinterested again for me, which is a worrying sign. Reguilon, terrible defending. Aurier, terrible defending. Dyer, I don't want to talk about that, man. He makes me feel physically sick. Alderweireld, same thing. It was just man for man across the park, and that's why I think, look, we know that the manager's an issue. We need to get that sorted. But I think we're praying and hoping more than actually believing that a manager's going to get a lot more out of this squad, because I can't see it. It's under 3 managers now, the likes of Lo Celso's and all these kind of players, that there's no real difference in their performances. Do you know what I mean? I think it is just their level, which is a worrying sign, considering we spent 40, 40 on Lo Celso, 60 on like loads of money across the park, and it's just poor recruitment, man. Poor recruitment, but yeah.
It's like, as I said, I didn't watch the game, so I can only go off highlights. But from the little I've seen, the defending was dreadful. Like Aurier reverting back to type, dead performance against Man United, dead performance against Man City in the League Cup. Played well, shock horror against the worst side in the league, and then from what I'm reading and from what I'm hearing, dead performance yesterday. Reguilon, I don't know how long it's been. It's got to be like 3 months now where it's just horrific performances. Eric Dyer, bruv. Eric Dyer, you see this guy? Like, I think it was the second goal that they scored where I think Alioski's put a ball into the box and you just literally need to clear your lines. In what world do you just let the ball just go across you? Like, you are in a position to boot that ball out. Why?
At the near post as well. I mean, if you're at the back post, you think there's no one behind you. Sometimes you can let that run across and it goes out. But he's at the near post, so his choice was to let the ball run across the 6-yard box all the way across the front of goal when he knows there's Leeds players. That's what I mean. I don't understand. I mean, I thought when it first happened, I thought, maybe it wasn't that close to him. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it was actually out of his reach. And then you've seen the sort of stills and the freeze frames on Twitter. And like you say, he was literally there just to put it out for a corner, put it out for a throw. I don't know. It's not a defender. It's just not a footballer. Like, I just don't understand your thought process. If you're a centre half and you think that that's the right decision, unless someone's giving him a shout, but I can't. No one's giving him a shout there. But it's week in, week out. Do you know what I mean? These mistakes are not new. I know we all think
we've been speaking about them, and this is what I'm saying. Like, people in the comments saying different managers saying Tottenham. You're right. But someone's put, you guys sacked the best tactician in the world. Clearly, he hasn't been watching football for the last 4 or 5 years. I see another comment saying, Tobs, what's the excuse today? Defeat without Jose Mourinho. See, this is I think this is the worst thing about it, because when we lose now, people say we shouldn't have sacked Jose. But in a way, I'm happy. In fact, it's not in a way. I'm happy we sacked Jose Mourinho because, one, we get rid of a manager who was clearly an anchor of the club, and two, it exposes the other issues that we had. The same issues that we've been banging on and on for weeks and weeks and months and months and months. The squad is busted. Yeah, it's absolutely busted.
But it's such a mammoth task now. So I mean, I don't know where do you? Because the thing is, like, people, I've seen it again today. People have said like, West Ham and so and so were like close to relegation last year, and they, a few good signings here and there. And now look at like, but do you trust the club to deliver on that aspect and make the right signings? And no. Can I just address something quick as well? Yeah. The starting lineup as well. For the third game in a row, this guy leaves out Ndombele. Midweek, he said that Ndombele had been carrying a knock. Okay, cool, but he was fit enough to play on the bench. Not even saying Ndombele is playing fabulous football now, but we've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks in here, there is no justification for this guy being left on the bench. Like, I look at that team, Serge Aurier is not a good right back, but why does he play in that team? Because he's better than Matt Doherty. Yeah. Sergio Reguilon is playing absolutely terribly. But why does he play in that team? He's better than Ben Davies. Midfield, Højbjerg has been, let's be honest, Højbjerg has been bad for the last couple of months. Why does he play? Because he's the best defensive midfielder we have. So why don't we keep the same energy of Ndombele? And we said it in the League Cup final game. Shocking from Mason there. Said it in the Sheffield United game. I don't care if we won 4-0. There is no justification for Dele and Lo Celso starting these matches over Ndombele. Like,
I saw Dele's assist, yeah, clever, and he would have maybe should have had a second one with the Harry Kane goal that was ruled out for offside. But only with Ndombele does Ryan Mason think, I'm not going to play my best midfielder. I'm just going to play these other guys. I'm just going to play these other guys, and it's not on. We've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks now. Like, why is this guy not playing? There is no. You cannot give me any excuse for this guy not playing. It's not footballing reasons anymore.
No, I agree with that. I think it's what I'm like to say. I'm the last one that's going to sit here and say that I've been happy with Ndombele's performances over the last 2-3 months. But like you say, ultimately, if you compare it to the players that are playing, there's no excuse. And that's why I know we said it last week, that there has to be another reason. Is it attitude? Is he falling out with the manager? Is it above Ryan Mason pushing for other players to start so they can try and sell him into something? Do you know what I mean? You've seen Winks play, you've seen Dele play. Is it that? But the detriment to the team is clear to see. And like you said, I'm not saying that Ndombele starts these games and we win them. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like you said, that we're trying to pick up points. If he's fit and he's available, like you said, you're playing Højbjerg, who's played every minute of every game this season, and he's been dreadful. Actually, he's been dreadful for the last 6 to 8 weeks, if not more. Yeah. And you see it, like, again, Eric Dyer. Why is Eric Dyer playing every single? You see it week in, week out. When actually, performance-wise, Rodon's probably played better than him every time he's played. So he's completely been frozen out. So it's all over the pitch. Like you said, it doesn't make sense, and it's almost like either Ryan Mason has absolutely no idea what he's doing, which is probably true. He's out of his depth.
Yeah, we need to speak on it as well. We need to speak on it as well because, like, I've like if I say it, it will come off as me being a hater and stuff. But we just have to call. Honestly, we have to call a spade a spade. He don't have a clue,
no,
and it's expected. He's not qualified for this job, which is why it can't be anything but an interim team with this guy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's it. It's like, I mean, I've said a few things and people go, yeah, but you can't blame him. Like, I'm not blaming him. He has been put in this position. If someone says, do you want to manage this football club? You're going to say yes, aren't you? Yeah. I mean, he was never going to turn it down. But ultimately, he knows he's out of his depth. We know he's out of his depth. I don't know why Daniel Levy's gone to Ryan Mason and done that. Probably because he thought it'd be a fan's favourite. He'd get a bounce from the players because they know him, none of which has really worked. But I see people saying, after 2 wins, oh, what about Mason for the permanent job?
Bro,
fucking hell, man.
Let me even send you this photo. One sec. So, where is it? So basically, this was sent to me like a couple of days ago, and it was from someone on Facebook. No doubt there are going to be some critics, but here are 2 suggestions concerning our managerial situation. Suggestion number 1. Give Ryan Mason a 3-year contract with a guarantee of at least 4 transfer windows, giving him a chance to build and shape his own team. Are you skunked? Are you out of your mind? The team is already on its knees. Like, the team's been on its knees for months. And this is why it's easy. This is why I feel like you get flogged with a cane of like, oh, this is what you wanted. With the whole Jose, Jose's gone now. This is what you wanted. No, I wanted Jose gone, and I wanted like a half a new team, bro.
Yeah, 100%. I haven't got all I want.
Like we want a manager who can actually usher in a proper rebuild, which includes getting rid of some of these players, and ultimately we want better ownership at the top.
Yeah.
And when you're seeing suggestions like this from our fan base, we don't deserve anything good. Ryan Mason on a 3-year contract.
That's the thing.
4 transfer windows based off what?
This is the thing. I think people think football management isn't as difficult as it is. It's not just picking a starting lineup. Do you know what I mean? It's not just here's your best 11, put them out every week, and that's it. There's so much that comes with the job, and only certain people can do it. And only certain people are good at it. If you've got no experience in it, and then trying to manage a club like Tottenham Hotspur, which, let's be honest, is a difficult club to manage just in general anyway, and then you wanted to go into the transfer market and try. Can you imagine Ryan Mason trying to ball players to this club? I'm not being funny. No disrespect to him, but there's no sense in it at all. And I think Daniel Levy, actually, this is kind of what he wanted. He wanted the fans to call for him to have a permanent job because it's an easier decision for him then. It's an easier process. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they'll give it to him permanently, but I think in an ideal situation, Daniel Levy wanted this to go extremely well and then be like a Solskjaer situation because it's cheaper for him. It's an easier situation, you know what I'm saying? And we need to make sure that doesn't happen because if I sit here, well, I don't know when the new season starts, is it August? If I sit here and Ryan Mason is still manager of this football club come the first game of next season, I genuinely think I'm done, you know. I don't think I could do it anymore, man. I don't know.
No, it's worrying. It's worrying times. It's worrying times. I think the team that's on its knees, and like some of these players who are meant to be some of our better players or reliable players or good on paper players they're just not good. And I think we've been screaming that like this team needs a reset. But boy, it's just going to be difficult, innit, man? It's like the people at the top, it seems as if they don't have the appetite to fix this mess, and they just keep making more and more bad decisions.
Yeah.
And then it's like the players on the pitch are getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Like a new manager comes in and listen, Ryan Mason, he got us, credit to him, like he's got us wins against Southampton and Sheffield United. Like, I'll be real, if Jose Mourinho was managing us in that Southampton game, I don't think we win that game. From one another, I don't think we win that game.
Yeah.
So I think we have to look at both sides to it. Like against the better sides, I think it's still clear to see that the team's weak on its knees. But I look at games before Ryan Mason's tenure, Newcastle away, we blew that.
Yeah.
Everton, half their squad depleted away from home, blew that.
There's so many examples of that across the season. I agree with that.
So many other games where like it just takes a different tactic and you win this game. But anyway, it is what it is, man. Like it's a long summer for us. I think all of this is just a mess anyway. It's all a mess anyway.
I think that's it. I mean, for a long time, I don't know about you, bro. I've not felt like obviously we don't have any influence in which way the club goes, whatever. But usually you can see what you think is the right way to go. Like, what's the next step, or like what we need to do to go and challenge for X, Y, Z, or make the next improvement. But I think I haven't felt like the club is in this much of a mess in a long time, where I don't know what fixes it anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I said, we can get a decent manager in, but I don't think unless there's serious changes in the squad that you're going to get much of a difference. You might get. You might be able to challenge for top 4 or something next year, but I don't think it's anywhere near good enough. And I can't see what needs to be done first, what needs to be addressed, who needs to go, who we actually need to bring in, like what kind of manager we need, how long is it going to take? Like, I think it could be a long road. Do you know what I mean? Back to where we want to be, and even if we can get there, because like I said, there's so many issues from top to bottom with the board where I believe they don't have that best interest at heart, and actually how, like you say, do they have the desire to want to be that? I mean, we've seen it with other owners, in the other side of North London, the same thing. Big shiny new stadium, spend some money here and there, 72 million on another player like we did from Dembele, but really is there the desire to properly challenge? And I don't think there is. So I can see it stagnating for a while, if I'm honest. But yeah, it's a worrying time ahead, bro. It's worrying time ahead.
It definitely is. But honestly, before we actually get back onto Spurs, I actually want to say, like, again, caveat, I didn't watch the full game, but from what I saw, Leeds were worthy winners. And I'm not sure who that's watching got to see my preview, but I was so headstrong that we weren't winning this game because in addition to the fact that we have our own issues, they're not a bad side at all. In fact, quite the opposite. They're a decent side. And when you look at their record against some of the better sides at home, I think only West Ham and Leicester have gone there and won this season. Like, they should have beaten Man City, and they got a point at home. They beat Man City away from home. They should have beaten Arsenal. They got a point and kept a clean sheet. They should have beaten Liverpool. They got a point. They should have beaten Chelsea. and they got a point, and they kept a clean sheet. So we were not going to come into this match and just like turn them over. Like a lot of people look into the whole cliche. Oh yeah, they're free, they're open. Yeah, they are. But a caveat of that is, as a result of their defensive roles, when they're suspect defensively, is offensively they will put your defense under pressure, and that's what you saw. Like they put our defense under pressure, and I just think in recent weeks as well, I actually think they've actually looked a little bit more secure defensively. Like if you look at their past like 6 or 7 games, Brighton is the anomaly where like they've conceded 2 goals and they just looked like really, really open. Like I watched them in some of their other matches, and they've actually looked solid.
Yeah,
they've looked solid. So I was saying it in my group chat. Like one of the things that disappointed me as well, and you can tell me on his performance, because we were talking about this last week, and I told you literally like I think we should look for a new option in the summer. But ultimately, if he's here next season as a last result, I'm not going to complain. But when I saw the lineup, I was thinking one thing: Alioski's playing left back, and in the 3-0 game, Steven Bergwijn, who's not scored a single goal this season, tore him apart. Like he actually like put him under significant pressure. So I was thinking, if we're going to score today, surely we should be trying to get some joy on their left hand side, because he's not a left back. He's not a left back, and he's quite poor. But I was disappointed, but not surprised to hear that Gareth Bale was marginalised out of the game yesterday, and that he didn't even do anything to test Alioski. Talk to me about that performance, because I didn't watch it.
I'll address the lineup first, like the reasons why. And I think that comes back to, again, it's not a dig, but managerial experience, actually playing the opponent as opposed to just picking who you think has the most quality or whatever. Like you said, I think one thing is Jose sometimes got it right in that aspect of matching up the right people against each other. So I agree with that. I thought when I saw Bale, as much as I was hoping for another Sheffield-esque performance, I knew that the energy Leeds brought, the fact that Alioski would go the other way and Bale wouldn't track him, it would cause some issues, which is what we saw. But also, I think I saw a piece on it. It was a disappointing performance, if you need me to say something on it. It was reminiscent of what we've seen all season. Like, you know, I praised Gareth Bale last week as I was erring on the side of keeping him next year if we're not going to go get a proper option, which I don't think we will. So I probably still think the same.
I still think if we can't get a fresh right winger, like
this is my point.
But you could do a lot worse than a player that scores 9 goals, even if it's against literally some of the worst sides in the league. Like I think. Go on.
I was going to say, I think the difficulty with Bale, which we all get sucked into, is, you know, he's won 4 Champions Leagues, he's this player, and we kind of expect him to deliver those kind of performances every single week, which for some reason, which I understand, because I've held him to that as well. You know, if he scores 2 goals one week and then the next week he doesn't, we're almost like, well, he shouldn't be here, or like we need to get someone else, or he's been a flop this year. But ultimately, we don't hold anybody else really to that expectation, which is strange for me. So I think there's been a number of performances, probably more so than good this season, where they've been disappointing. But I think you can say that about everyone in the squad, really. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. It was a strange one. I think it was the wrong decision to play him yesterday. I think you're right. As much as I would like to not see Bergwijn anywhere near a starting 11, maybe a Lucas out there or someone that actually brought some energy that would track back and do the legwork against Leeds. But ultimately, I think it's not. I'm not worried about that performance, because like I saw it across the park. I thought Son was poor. I thought Kane was poor. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen Kane be poor for the last 3 or 4 games. So I think he scored a hat-trick the week before. He's done more actually in the last few weeks than most players.
Exactly.
So I'm not gonna come for him. I think we're all aware of how Gareth Bale performs now. He's not going to give you that defensive cover that other players will. But what he will give you is, if he gets a sniff, he'll put it in the back of the net, which is what we all say we want from a front three. So
Let's talk on Harry Kane's performance as well, because again, I also heard he was poor. Like, I know we can talk about the offside decisions, but I don't really talk when you lose by a 2-goal deficit. Like, for me, the whole offside thing, it feels a bit sort of rich bringing it up, but at the same time, I look at their third goal. I look at the third goal they scored, and then I look at the goal that Kane had that was disallowed, and it was literally like for like. So I don't know. As I said, listen, they put it as offside. But it's annoying, isn't it? It's annoying, but I don't know. I feel like their way of measuring these offsides is very weird, where they put some of the lines at times. But
I think it's ultimately the goal disallowed. I thought he was onside. He was level. It should have been a goal. Ultimately, throughout the 90 minutes, Leeds were by far the better side and you should have won the game. But if we're going to address the offside and the VAR, it doesn't make sense to me, because you're talking about freezing a frame of a millisecond, where if you took it back by a couple of milliseconds, maybe the ball where it's released from Ali's foot is slightly different. And also, if you've got to zoom in to a point where you're looking at if the feet are level, but you're so far zoomed in, or where the way you've had to freeze the frame at such a pace that the foot is blurred, so you can't even tell where the end of the foot is. How can you make a decision on an offside which is millimeters if the accuracy of the image isn't there? Do you know what I mean? Which I think is fucking ridiculous. But ultimately, I don't think the offside is a. I know Ryan Mason and lots of people saying it changes the momentum of the game and whatever, which is partly true, I guess. But I think ultimately we just weren't good enough on the day. If we were dominant and deserving to win the game, once that offside happened, we'd have gone and tried to get a second again, and we'd have pushed on, but we didn't. Leeds were the better side. They were better on the ball. They were far more threatening. Kind of irrelevant for me, but I get the point.
Yeah. You know what's mad as well? Yeah, I saw the lineup. I saw no Rafinha starting, no Calvin Phillips starting, and I still said we're not winning this game. Yeah. I looked at the midfield. Matthias Click. I think they played. I can't remember who they played in midfield.
Yeah, Click played where Calvin Phillips should usually play.
Yeah, I think they played. One sec, let me get it up now, just so, because with Spurs, it's it's less about what the opposition does and more about how we set up. So they played Robin Koch, a centre back in midfield. He's done that a couple of times. He's had Struijk play in midfield a couple of times as well. Yeah. So he played Robin Koch, Click, and Tyler Roberts. Tyler Roberts is meant to be like a winger, for heaven's sake. And he played that free. And then I think Stuart Dallas probably played on the right, but I would expect that Tyler Roberts maybe would have drifted on the right, because he's better for my position. Dallas maybe in midfield, but you just knew that playing Ali and Lo Celso in the midfield with it's not gonna work in terms of ball retention.
Ball retention, yeah, spot.
It's never gonna work, and we literally saw this last week against Sheffield United. Such was their lack of enthusiasm to play that game. Once you beat that first press we were in, it was so open for us. We didn't need to bother about ball retention, because we were just so much better than them.
Yeah. There was no need to work the ball.
Exactly.
Against Sheffield, 100%.
Exactly. But Leeds, in a game where it's man to man, they do 1-to-1, where they're going to be on you like a rash. Yeah. Boy, that's what happens, man. Yeah. Ultimately, we had no one in that midfield yesterday who was good at retaining the ball and distributing well. So, yeah.
I don't think we have those options. I don't think we have those options, bro. That's the thing.
Sorry, it's one second. I'm just going for some comments. But Tobs, you were begging for Ali when Jose benched him. Now you're when? What? When have I ever begged for this guy to start? I said he should be getting a look in the Europa League. When have I ever begged for Ali to start league games? Jose Mourinho dropped him on merit because he was poor. Yeah. But what Jose Mourinho did wrong was completely ostracizing the whole team. Yeah. The hell?
When everyone else was poor as well.
Yeah, it did. When we're seeing the likes of Lamella playing number 10, playing number 10 and can't score, can't assist, and you're telling me that Dele Alli can't even make the bench?
Nah, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, there was no begging for him to play. It was because it just got frozen out, which was ridiculous when we were playing, like you say, Lamella's, Lucas's, and number 10s, and fucking yeah. Go on, sorry.
No, go on. But yeah, like it's just, yeah, it was one of those games ultimately where, like, you know how Leeds are going to play. They don't change. They don't compromise their style for most.
No.
You have to be up for that game from an energy point of view. If you're not up for that game, you're going to lose.
Yeah, 100%. You have to match the intensity. Yeah, you have to match your intensity.
Exactly, and it's a battle, literally, as I said, 1-to-1, all over the pitch. If you're not ready for the job.
Mate, it sounds like Sunday League, innit? You have to win. You have to win your individual battles, but against Leeds, you do it. It is 1-on-1. Yeah,
you have to. 100%, you have to. And just on Kane as well, like, again, you have to tell me about his performance, but another game where he didn't look good. He wasn't good, and people are like, he looks disinterested and stuff like that. Like, I thought he just didn't play well against Sheffield. I thought he was just bad against Sheffield United. But
do you know what it is? Bro,
talk to me about
just real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It was just I think with Spurs fans and with me as well, it's like history repeating itself. And I know, you know, if we weren't that club, I'd say he's just having a bad game. But we've seen it so many times with players that eventually have enough and want to leave. We picked up on like body language, the way they play, like their attitude, all that kind of stuff, and it just stinks of that, man. Like it's only been 2 games, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm looking too deep into it. But when I've watched him play against Sheffield and I've watched him play to this, that's what I said with Harry Kane. It will never be that like he doesn't run or like he doesn't put the effort in because he's too much of a professional not to do that part of the game. Yeah. But I don't see the desire for him to want to score at the minute. Like he's not actually that. I'm probably wrong, but I think that's what Spurs fans are looking at. Is we've seen it with like Berbatov, Carrick, Modric, Bale, all these players over the years where they've eventually kind of had enough, and then you see Eriksen as well. Like, you know what I'm saying, you see their performances kind of just slowly drop off, which I think is just natural human behaviour. If you're frustrated, if you're annoyed, if you want something new, you're kind of there in spirit as opposed to there physically. And I felt like that's what Kane's been the last 2 games. He still does a job, he still does well, but it's just not. When you looked at, you know, when we were properly trying to challenge for the top 4 and we had the cup final and all that, you know, he was dictating games, he was bullying games, he was coming in deep, and he was right. He's kind of just gone, the season's done. Let's just finish it and see what happens there. So it is quite worrying because I don't think, you know, if there is an opportunity or somehow logistically and financially that he does go, where does that leave us, man? Where the fuck does that leave us as a club? I think that's a big impact. Like I don't know what you can compare it to, because I think when we lost Bale, we were still pretty avid. I don't think Bale brought as much to us as what Kane does. So yeah, it's worrying. I mean, I don't know. Like from what you saw, Tobs, are you thinking any different? Then do you think it's just
as I said, I can only go off like the highlights. I don't know. Like I don't know. I didn't watch it for 90 minutes. So I can't really assess, but I'm taking your word for it, and I'm gonna take the words of others who I know watched that game, and they said the same thing as well. And it's like he's. It looks as if like maybe he's fed up, and if so, you can't blame him. Honestly, it's a long. We need to strap in because it's going to be a long couple years ahead for us. Like it's been a series of bad decisions that's got us to this position we're in now. The inability to refresh the team when we were still actually a good side.
Yeah.
Followed by the sacking of Pochettino, followed by the hiring of a manager who you knew, in fact, the whole football world knew, bar a select few, that it wasn't going to work. Like, he's just not the one. Just not the one. And not only have we wasted 18 months or whatever it is on it, it's cost us more money. We're now even further back. And now we're in a position where the really good managers that can help address this issue are not available, and the ownership is shocking, and the players are shocking as well right now. So it's like
there's no light at the end of the tunnel, innit? That's what I'm thinking. It's just like, how long is this going to take? Because
the pain is going to go on.
No, that's it. It's just like it's painful to think about. That's why, like, I know last week we were saying, look, let's just enjoy today because it's going to be horrible. Like, I'm not. Yeah. So I mean, like, I don't know how long, because I can see us just falling, man. I can just see us falling for a bit and it getting worse before it gets any better. But
the anger's gone now. Like,
I agree with that.
The anger is gone. Like, for me, the season was done. The season was done the moment we got knocked out to Zagreb. Like, all of this top 4 stuff is for show. Like, how many times we said it's for show?
It's been done for a long time.
It's been KO'd. It's been absolutely KO'd. Like, and people always, like, I get it as fans. We try to be optimistic because it seems as if this top 4 race, as it has been for the last 3 years, is always a case of who can mess up the least.
Yeah,
it's always like these teams. Leicester got lost to flipping. Leicester lost to flipping Newcastle this weekend. They drew to Southampton last weekend. Last weekend, I can't remember who it was that dropped points. But like, it seems like for whatever reason, it's still open. But you always fail to underestimate how poor Spurs can be.
Yeah. And I think you've seen as well other clubs now, you know, like you said, over the last few years, it's been who messes up the least. But I think now you're seeing, you know, Chelsea really solidify, you know, who they are, their identity, how they play, and they beat City twice now. So I don't think they're going to mess up, if you like, between now and the end of the season. Leicester, they have the odd game, but generally they bounce back and they're quite consistent. I think that, like you said, since Zagreb, we always said if there was an opportunity to close the gap or, you know, get into that top 4, we lose. We lose that game every time. Exactly. Every time. We don't have. No, it doesn't matter. That's what I said. It doesn't matter who it's against as well. Like Fulham's, and we will draw that game or we'll lose that game. It doesn't matter. We do not have the mental strength or the quality in the squad to actually challenge for the top 4. And I see people on Twitter, it makes me laugh every time when it's like we're 5 points off and they'll go, Chelsea've got to play them and Leicester got to play them. So if they lose, plus that, and they win, and then we beat them and them. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? Just stop. Because you're going to end up in your bedroom crying. Just stop. Just stop. We're going to lose the games. Relax. But nah, it's been done for ages, and that's the thing. I think now next season, like if you look at the likes of because you'd say Chelsea, Arsenal, and I won't throw anyone else in, but generally they were like our main contenders for 4th spot. Maybe United as well previously. But when you look at, you know, Chelsea, what they spent on Havertz, Werner, all these kind of players, and then yes, it didn't work, but now with Tuchel, they do look like a proper side. And I think top 4, you know, City, United, Chelsea. Leicester, and then you think Liverpool will eventually come good again. I think there's too many clubs that are quite a lot stronger than us. Do you know what I mean? And I can't see. There's a lot that has to go wrong. A lot of players to leave, or a lot of injuries to happen to those clubs where we're anywhere near them. So I think it's a big process, and almost when we were at the peak of our powers, which sounds ridiculous, in like 16, 17, we were lucky that a lot of those clubs were in that moment where Man City needed players, United were struggling, they needed, you know, they had an aging squad, they needed a refresh. Chelsea were fairly similar, but they were still quite decent. And I think we're going to have to kind of wait for that cycle again, I feel, which is like those top teams are going through their transitions. And then, I don't know. It's a tough one to see or to forecast.
Are you going to the protest next week? Yeah, I'll be there. So I'll message you and I'll link up with you there, to be honest, because I think now for me, I think the penny is dropped with Enoch. I think whether it's in or out, like the way in which they're managing this club and the way in which they've managed this club the last few years has, outside of the stadium, has been nothing short of a disgrace.
Yeah. And
I think, like, even if people will say, "Oh yeah, no," but they don't really care. But I think there's such momentum behind this now that, like, you're gonna see a lot of people vent their fury at ENIC next weekend, because ultimately the way in which they are running this club right now is unacceptable. Like, I will never sit here and say, oh yeah, that their entire tenure has been a complete bust. Like, I think they did well to propel us up to a point, but it's like, how many more bad decisions can you take? I mean, like, let me I'm not sure if you saw it the other day, but like, the Aston Villa tickets, £60 to watch Aston Villa midweek, 6 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah, they're so out of touch, bro.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And then it's not even just that, to be honest. Truth be told, it's the Pochettino sacking. I will never get over that. After you delayed backing, you then sack him when shit hits the fan. But anyway, you've seen the news about us potentially hosting the Champions League final.
No, I've not seen it.
You've not seen it?
No, I've not seen it.
So apparently, obviously, because Turkey's on the red zone or whatever, like, we can't host the game there, or UEFA can't host the game there because fans can't fly out there without having to quarantine. So they're exploring either Villa Park or our ground. And you just mentioned something there which hit the nail on the head about Daniel Levy. Like, he is absolutely tone deaf. Mm-hmm. It's not enough that you're missing ENIC's, not just him, ENIC's mismanagement of this team has led us to a point where we're going to be finishing possibly even outside the top six. We might finish outside the top six for the first time in 13, 14 years this season. Yeah. Off the back of finishing sixth last year, off the back of this will be 2 years in a trot where we've not qualified for Champions League spot. And one of our fiercest rivals is in a Champions League final. And you're putting our stadium forward so they can play in it with a possibility of them winning that trophy and celebrating at our ground. And I know obviously people will say, oh yeah, no, it's extra money. But like, this is why people are angry with him, because you have no idea about how mad this decision is from a footballing point of view. You're looking at it as getting a few quid.
Which is what I said. Their priorities are flipped on their head, and it always has been that. And I'm glad that, to a degree, it's because, you know, I never, you know, overly disagree with you about it, Tobs, but, you know, there was more of a balance from your side. You know my thoughts on them. There was more of a balance, but especially in recent times, there's no excuse for it anymore. Do you know what I mean? There is no excuse for some of the decisions they make, and you compare it to the other clubs that, you know, have got games and they're charging £30 a ticket. So why are we charging £60? Do you know what I mean? Because they know people will buy it. That's the thing. There's never a gesture to try and, you know, do something nice for the fans or an understanding of the fans' sort of thoughts and feelings. They will charge you £60 because they know that the 10,000 tickets or whatever it is they've got, they will sell them. They will sell them. So why would they not charge you £60? This is the whole issue that you've got. And that's why the 15th is so important, because the more we sit back and say nothing, they'll just keep taking the piss because they can. So why, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't moan about ENIC on one hand, but then facilitate it. I'm not saying you, obviously, I'm saying in general as fans. You can't moan and say that you want them out and they've made poor decisions and they're not doing the right thing, but then facilitate on the other hand by going and spending money, ridiculous money for what we're seeing. The product that we're actually paying for is horrific, and we're paying the most out of anyone, it seems. Do you know what I mean? So it can't be facilitated in that way. So the 15th is important. Do you know what I mean? People may think it's not, but it is. It
definitely is. Yeah, it is. It is. I think, honestly, I think they just need to know that the way they're running this club is not acceptable, and they actually need to be put. They need to be put on blast. Either change or fuck off.
Yeah,
it's that simple. And asking them to change what they've been doing for 20-something years, we know that's not going to happen. So it has to be the alternative.
Fuck off. Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Go on.
It needs to come from us. You know what I mean? Like, one, we know that Levy and ENIC are incredibly stubborn, so I don't think it's going to be easy. It might not even happen. But it's definitely not going to happen if we all just sit there and let it happen. Do you know what I mean? You need to make your voices heard. We've seen it at United. We've seen it a bit at Arsenal. It needs to be on the same levels. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be a proper stance and say what we want and say what we mean it. So anyone that wants to come, get down there. Do you know what I mean? We need numbers, because I think the last time, I can't remember what game it was, there must have been about 30 people there, and it was embarrassing. So it needs to be done properly. It needs to be organised, and yeah, we need to make a change, because, like I've said to you before, bro, I think, new manager comes in, we'll probably get a bounce, we'll do a little bit better, but ultimately, I don't see long-term success or long-term change at the helm of these guys. Like you said, the way it's being run, and we know that we can ask for change, but the change won't come. So ultimately, it needs to be a change of personnel. It needs to be a change of ownership, a change of board. So
exactly. You're right. When you look at, I know we sound like a broken record because we keep repeating it, but when you look at the mammoth task that this needs, we need to rip out, no word of a lie, like as if probably like well over 50% of this squad.
100%.
Yeah. And that's me being kind. Yeah. 50% of this squad need to be replaced. The other 50%, I think you can get a tune out of some players, and we still have some good players, some quality players, etc. But on top of that, we need the right non-playing staff behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
We need the right manager. But as we've seen now, this club are on a joke with this managerial search. Like, no good manager wants to touch us with a stick.
Nope, don't blame him.
And we need people at the top who make the good footballing decisions. Like, I think as humans, we need to be mindful that we are humans. People will make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the issue with these lot now is that it's always bad mistakes.
Yeah, it's not isolated. It's constant. But that tells me it's not mistakes to them. It's mistakes to us, because we want what's right on the pitch. We want success, trophies. You know what I'm saying? They don't. So for what they've done, it's they're doing they're not making mistakes. Do you know what I mean? Because it's the commerciality and the growth of the club and all this kind of stuff. So they've not made mistakes to them. They've made mistakes to the likes of you and me. But because their mentalities are different, they don't care. That's not what they're there to do. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why I said it needs to change. It needs to have someone. Yes, you need stability in the club. You need financial stability. You need commercial growth. You need all of those things. You need assets.
Yeah, which is good. No one will ever shit on them for that. But go on. I know you want to say the next part.
It's just, but you need someone that's first or main driver is to make it right on the pitch, and then that comes second, because their downfall now is they've grown it to such a stature where they need a squad to be delivered on the pitch. They need Champions League football. They need to be getting to the latter stages of Champions League football. They need to be fighting for the titles, not necessarily winning all the time, but they need to be up there, right, for the TV money and all that kind of stuff. If we are as shit as we seem to be, they're going to be hemorrhaging money left, right, and centre, and the value of that club is going to drop and drop and drop. So for me, the best time for them to get out is now, because they don't have the know-how to turn the ship around. For me, they don't know what the right decisions are, footballing wise.
I think I have to agree on that one. Like, it's too many bad decisions in succession now for me to believe that these lot have the best way of getting this team back to a respectable level from a footballing point of view. Like, it's just bad decision after bad decision. Like, literally the last 3 years has just been a catalogue of shocking decisions outside of the stadium. Shocking decisions. Like, literally bad decisions to the point where you're thinking, have we done
that? yeah. How do you even come to that conclusion? Isn't it? Like,
honestly, the one in January 2019, like January 2019 and then November 2019. So January 2019, of course, Dembele, I think he had been injured for like 2 months and 6 months left on his contract. Cool, you want to sell him, but even expecting Pochettino to work more miracles than what he was working with a team that already had so many injuries. Harry Kane was injured at that point in time. Dele Alli was injured at that point in time. Harry Winks, who became a first-team regular, started picking up injuries as well. We only had Sissoko, Winks, in midfield, like first team midfielders.
Mm-hmm.
And
for 9 million as well.
Yeah. And you sell Dembele. Fair enough. I don't have an issue with selling Dembele. Yeah, he was on his way down, not effective on the football pitch, and he was injury prone. But to not bring anyone in, it actually screams negligence to me. Like, it is negligence of the highest order. The squad is bleeding, you don't bring anyone in. Bear in mind, this is a team that at the time we were second or third in the league, and we were in the Champions League knockouts. Then a couple months later down the line, after shocking form, Pochettino was bad, of course he was, but the moment things are going bad for the manager, you get rid of him.
Yeah,
and you bring in a manager who was never going to be it. I don't know what anyone tells me about Jose Mourinho, etc., etc. He was never going to succeed at Spurs. It just was never going to work. So for me, for you to even think that you sack Pochettino and bring in a manager like Jose Mourinho, only to then sack him and then go and try and look for a manager like Pochettino, it tells me you don't know what you're doing.
No. And now you said that, negligence where it didn't have a replacement from the Bello. Bring somebody in. It's exactly the same with this manager thing, right? So they've done on the Bello deal for a few extra quid. They've then sacked Mourinho at the time they sacked him. Because like you said, if you're going to sack him, he goes off to Zagreb for me, right?
100%.
So they've waited for a certain league position to save a few quid. They've sacked him without, like you just said, without any plan in place or any idea of what they're going to do next. They just it's a trigger decision based on like an instant financial gain or reward or whatever. But then there seems to be no thought process on the financial loss based on the negligence of that decision. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's where I just go. People will go, leave his like this businessman. He's this businessman. I go, he's not. He can't be that fucking good because some of the decisions he makes fuck himself in the long run. Yeah. So he can't be that amazing businessman that everyone talks about because now no one wants to deal with him. No one wants to manage his.
Let me not lie. I think he is an excellent businessman.
I'm not saying he's obviously a better businessman than me and you, Tobi. But what I'm saying is people go like he's untouchable. He makes the best decisions.
No.
Well, clearly he doesn't because if he would have spent to make sure that we got into a top 4 position, so that then the cash flow remained at the same level that it was previously. But no, they try to save in the immediate sense by not spending on certain players or selling certain players in the wrong times and the wrong occasions to try and get that immediate, financial gain. But then ultimately we drop out of the top 4. So you're hemorrhaging money again. So they're not smart decisions. That's my point. I know what you're saying. Like, if they're going to a negotiation about wages or transfer fees, fine. But ultimately for the club, they fuck it so many times. So many times. And I think you can't be that guru that everyone claims that he is. When you don't see past the instant transaction, you see the transaction, you don't see the impact. Do you know what I'm saying? Which for me, I just go, this is why they're not as good as what everyone thinks they are. Look, we've done well, but I think a lot of the fact that we've been able to grow the way that we've grown is because they got lucky with a certain manager. They got lucky that somehow with the squad that we had, which he didn't actually change that much from what he inherited, Pochettino. Do you know what I mean? He managed to improve some players, get the best out of some players, and we challenged probably where we shouldn't have been challenging when you look at net spend and things like that, which gave Daniel Levy a full sense of security and thinking that you could do that constantly going forward when you can't. It doesn't work like that. That's not how football works, unfortunately. So it's just a fucking mess, mate. I could go on about it all day, and I won't, because I'll bore everyone. But I just, change needs to happen. How we get that, who knows? We can only try.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see what happens this summer. Even if we sell up as well, I'm just thinking, who realistically now, who's out there that wants to buy us? I feel like I've not heard anything about any potential buyers. I feel like the club's geared to be taken over by an American when you look at all the deals.
NFL.
So, but it'll be interesting to see anyway. But I think we can end it. We can end it on this, like, no tears, no anger, it's just pure apathy, apathy in anticipation of this very, very troubling summer that we've got coming up. So it'll be interesting to see how the club overcome this, if they can overcome it anyway. But Folks, make sure you smash a like. Make sure you leave any more comments as well. Like we're done for today. We'll be back. Who we got next week? Wolves. Yeah, Wolves. Wolves on the Sunday. Wolves on the Sunday. So we should beat Wolves. We should at home. We should beat Wolves, but you can't put your money on it.
I'm not putting money on it. No shots.
I'll still predict a win, to be honest. I think we'll
at home. At home, I think we will win. But there's go on.
Go. No, you go.
No, I was just gonna say, but yeah, there's no way I'm putting money on that. I think they've still got a decent squad on it. I just think it's the kind of, if we don't match their intensity again, I think it's one of them games. But ultimately at home we should win the game. So
yeah. I'm just looking at a team. Pedro Neto injured. They don't really defend well these days. With Raul Jimenez, long-term injury, obviously he's not played at all. It would be us to let them get something out of this game, but I think, yeah, I'm looking at our last 3 games. I think Wolves will win. Villa, I'm not too sure. I don't know. I don't know if we'll win that one. And Leicester, we are 1,000% not winning that game. That's an L if I've ever seen one. I don't care how bad they're playing. That's an L. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we'll be back on Sunday anyway to review that Wolves game. But folks, make sure you smash a like, and for those who haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. And the link for mine and Jordan's socials are in the description as well. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, go ahead and do so. But until then, we'll see you lot later. Take care and peace out.
Cheers, guys.